I'm gonna show you my Star Wars book collection. So at this current time, I don't necessarily have a bookshelf. I had a bookshelf, kind of fell apart, and so kind of my right now my books are kind of scattered. So if it looks like I'm reaching places to get them, that's why. I guess we'll start with my magazine. This is Hollywood Spotlight Special Collector's Edition, The Complete Guide to Star Wars. A friend gave this to me. Thank you. But yeah, it's just a Star Wars magazine, kind of looking at Mandalorian, some of the stuff that was going on, and stuff that might be happening in 2021, and looking back at Star Wars as a whole. A pretty cool magazine, and I like the front on it. Back on it, not so much, but yeah, that's cool. And then we'll just go over my comics, and then we'll actually get into my books. Let me do some stuff here. First up, we got this is a free comic book day Darth Vader issue. Yeah, that's all I have to say about that. Yeah, one for Darth Maul, which is pretty cool. Well, that's everything for my Star Wars comics. Yeah, I do need to get more Star Wars comics, but I got a few books. So I guess we should start with kind of oldest to newer books. So let's. All right. Well, you know what? Just start with Thrawn. This is so a little backstory on my experience with Star Wars books. I don't read a ton of Star Wars books. That's because, frankly, I did not grow up with Star Wars when those books started coming out. And so by the time I was really getting into reading comics and kind of books like that, um, those books were not canon to because of the new sequel trilogy, which I know a lot of people have issues with. But really, the reason why they do it is because they wanted to do the things in the books themselves, um, in live action. You know, we see elements of stuff in the books in the sequel trilogy and in the Mandalorian, and that's why they did that. You know, it's like a free cleaning the slate. So it's not. I don't mind it so much. I know a lot of people do. So, but you know, Star Wars books are a big deal. Basically, when George finished the original trilogy, Star Wars books were all Star Wars fans had for new content, and they became best-selling novels and things like that. It became a big deal, and yeah, so I'm kind of going back to some of these older novels, but for the most part, I mostly read newer stuff. Though I definitely do plan to go back and read older stuff, but also older stuff is, well, a lot of it's paperbacks, and I'm waiting for certain stories to be reprinted in hardcovers and things like that. So, but this is Thrawn. Thrawn's a great character. So Thrawn has a trilogy of books. I got this one for Christmas. This is the first book of the original trilogy of Thrawn books. I need to get the other two. Fantastic book. Yeah, just Thrawn. I don't know. And then Timothy Zahn came back to write a newer set of Thrawn books, and this is the first one, Thrawn Chaos Rising. The sequel comes out in April. I haven't made it through this one yet. I'm planning to dive into it pretty soon here because I will be pre-ordering and getting the second book in April, but I do want to do a video on this book at some point because one of my goals for 2021 on my main channel, Chan's Movie Vlog channel, was to talk more books, and this is something to talk about. But yeah, and then We have Star Wars: The Empire Strikes Back from a certain point of view. Basically, this is a book that shows us a lot of the events in The Empire Strikes Back from different perspectives, and kind of gives us interesting lore, tidbits, and details. It's a fantastic book. I need to get the New Hope version, but this is the Empire Strikes Back version, which is fantastic. And you should read that. It's a great book. It adds a lot to the Star Wars universe, and it shows things in a different context that you may have not thought about before, and that makes it interesting. It's honestly on the same level, I would say, as the Clone Wars. So now I haven't read this. I don't know if I'll ever read this, but it was on clearance for like $8 at Target. Black Spear, Galaxy's Edge. Basically, this is a book that takes place at Galaxy's Edge, I believe. And there was a lot of Galaxy's Edge merchandise and Disney Park merchandise that started coming to Target this year at a lower price point because, Disney parks are not open due to the pandemic. So it was like a way of them to get rid of merchandise that they need to sell. And yeah, and so that was one of the books. It didn't sell well. I don't blame people for not being interested in that book because it doesn't look very interesting to me, but as a Star Wars collector, I thought I'd at least get it, and I probably will never read it, but here we are. And then another one I got for Christmas here. Or, no, did I get this one for Christmas, or did I just order this one? I'm not really sure. Star Wars: The Clone Wars Stories of Light and Dark. So this is another one where it takes episodes from the show or other stories from the Clone Wars and shows us them from a different perspective, and that's cool. I think my main issue with this book is I don't like what the Clone Wars writers are doing, right? Fans like the Clone Wars, okay? They love the Clone Wars. I think if Disney Plus wanted more episodes of the Clone Wars, they should just not made the last season the final season and make the episodes that they wanted to make. It's clear that there was a lot of stories planned. There was one about how Boba got the dent in his helmet. There were a lot of episodes where the animation wasn't finished, but it was very close to being finished. The audio was recorded, things like that. And so I'm looking at this going, you had all these ideas planned out, and you're publishing them in comics like Son of Dathomir and the Ahsoka novel, which granted did come out before Clone Wars Season 7. But when I look at those stories, I'm sitting there going, okay, so you had these stories planned out for years, but then you're just not gonna make them come to life. And also, like Son of Dathomir, the annoying part about that story is you don't know what happened to Maul after the cliffhanger it left him in Season 5. And unless you read that comic, you don't know what happened to Maul. It's not answered in Season 7. And things like that. They expect you to read these books, and it just pisses me off because, well, it's just, you should not do that to your audience, and you should adapt these stories. And Clone Wars was a big success. It's a big hit. It's a beloved series. There's no reason at all that they couldn't have done more Clone Wars. They didn't need to adapt them into a book. And cool, some people say, well, books are better. I disagree with that, and it doesn't have the stuff I love about the Clone Wars, which is the music, the voice acting, the animation, the cinematography, how the characters move across the screen, stuff like that. So everything I love about the series really isn't in this book except for the characters and the writing. But yeah, I don't know. I've never been a big fan of that. And the other thing I'm going to show you here is my High Republic books. Now, so far there are only 2 books that have released. The next book, um, it was Into the Dark. That's what it was. I was trying to think of the title. I pre-ordered that. It's supposed to come out February 2nd. I doubt it will come on that date, but I'll probably do a video on that when it shows up, and I probably will, well, not probably, I will be reading it and doing a review of that story, or of that book. But this is kind of the younger, kiddier version of these High Republic books. It's okay. I think it connects really well to Light of the Jedi, and I think you should read both if you want everything. If you don't care about that, you don't need to read this book. But the sequel to this book is supposed to release in June, and I'll have to be pre-ordering that soon. And then The Light of the Jedi also has its sequel releasing in June. And Light of the Jedi, fantastic book, one of the best Star Wars books in a very long time. Everybody should read this book. It does a lot, introduces a lot of characters, does a fantastic job at it, sets up new enemies, new heroes. There's a lot of death in the book. It's just, there's a lot to say about this book, but I don't want to get into spoilers, so I would just say read it. And I will definitely be talking about more of the High Republic on this channel and on my main channel, Chan's Movie Vlog channel. So stay tuned for more coming soon.